Okay, a few more pages left. Here we go. When I emerged, the main room was wrecked. Fresh blood dripped down into my mane. Looking up, I saw the blast-torn remains of the pony in its twisted metal cage. Oh, Celestia, damn them to hell! More determined than ever, I stripped the raider bodies, what little was left of them now, of their armor. The armors were shredded tatters, but with some effort I was able to use the best parts of each to patch together something that would give me better protection than in my stable issue utility bardings. The resulting outfit, it had almost no pockets, so it would have I'd have to take the utility suit out of my saddlebag to get most of my tools, but it was a fair trade. Putting it on was gruesome. My hooves were darkened with blood just from working on it. Every inch was covered with fresh gore of dead ponies. I almost lost my nerve and abandoned the awful thing. I slipped it on. My stomach rebelled, but I didn't have any more to throw up. A last look around while I figured I still had time. The raider above obviously assumed I was dead. I would have assumed I was dead too. Looting the bodies garnered me a little ammo. The gun from the earlier raider had been in bad shape to begin with and was damaged beyond repair by the explosion. Several ponies apparently collected bottle caps, which struck me as an absurdly odd thing to hoard. I left those alone. The kitchen refrigerator had a small stockpile of food, cooked radigator meat, a few skewers of barbecued fruits, and my pickpocket identified as bloat sprite meat, and a box of pre-worked cake, but nothing he says healthy eating like 200-year-old food. And some water that looked like it was bottled straight out of the sludge river. I took everything but the cake and the water. Apparently, he splayed towards a cutie raider was a rather decent cook. With a second thought, I looked over the ingredients on the cake box, filled with enough preservatives that your stomach would still be intact long after the rest of you rotted away to dust. I took it too. The raider pony was in the main room, looking over his handiwork. When I returned from the kitchen, one look at me and my growing pile of weaponry, and he headed up the stairs. I galloped after him, revolver zipping into the air in a cloud of levitation magic that matched the light around my horn. He went through the door at the level above. It took me a moment to reach it, but caution made me skid to a stop before barreling through. If that had been me on the other side, I'd be waiting on the other side of the door, ready to take the head off the raider who rushed through. With positions reversed, I was not going to make the same mistake. A filly cried from inside. "Ah, help!" Changed the scenario. Standing to the side, I threw open the door. There was no attack. I darted in and stopped short. The room was lined with more destroyed books on either side and a large window that opened onto a balcony. This room was decorated as disgustingly as the last, but filled with stained sleeping mattresses. Near the open window, a filly too young to even have her cutie mark lit on a mattress stained, and with so much blood it was nearly black. She had been brutalized and raped repeatedly, and her flank was covered with small burns, and her cutie mark would eventually appear. Her ropes were on the floor nearby, looking chewed through. And between myself and her, the raider pony stood with a shocking hostage, the zombie pony. It took me a moment to realize she must have flown from the balcony, and if I had to believe that if there's any decent left in the world, it would have been her who gnawed the filly's ropes free. Now she was against the wall with an axe to her throat. A small part of my brain insisted on distracting me by wondering how the zombie pony could have flown with her wings but didn't have any feathers, as if she had more sufficient mystery than how she could be alive, by some definition, in her decayed physical condition. My distraction was distracted by a nearby table. An ashtray with a smoking cigar told me is how the filly had gotten those burns. Rage welled up in me until I felt. Ah, yeah. Rage welled up in me until I felt it would burst through my eyeballs. Next to the ashtray are two familiar metal apples resting on top of an lightly stained book with a stylized pony's skull on the cover. A second book, showing a revolver almost identical to the one floating next to me, had slid to the floor where it was resting its one leg of the table, along with its several pencils and a filly's lunchbox. A smiling, gentle white unicorn with a beautiful lavender and pink mane stared back beneath the Stable Tech logo. It felt wrong that something so innocent looking should be in this place. My eyes turned to the Earth Pony Raider with the axe in his teeth. For a moment, I just hated him. The room hated him. The room quiet except for the filly's occasional whimpers. When my voice returned, my words surprised me. By Celestia, you're stupid. Gah, sorry. Jaw. Octavian. Where was I? By Celestia, you're stupid. Hard to tell a pony to back off or surrender when your mouth is full of axe, isn't it? Maybe if you'd spent more time reading these books rather than destroying them, you'd be smart enough to come up with a plan that actually allowed you to negotiate a way out of this. The grenades located off the table. Stupid, annoying people, anyway. Where was I? The grenades located off the table. I dangled them between us. One that doesn't end me shoving these up your tail. Ow! The raider pressed the axe blade against the zombie pony's throat, enough to cut flesh, which split it and pulled back as if it had been strained taut. A core that might have once been blood oozed out of the wound. The zombie pony didn't flinch or whimper, but the filly did both. Right, kill her. The revolver floated forward next to the grenades. That way there won't be anything to block my shot. I could see the raider considering his options and not liking what he was finding. Dropping the axe from his mouth, he whined pathetically, I don't want to die, and dashed for the open balcony, leaping over the cringing filly. Sats sent 4 shots right into his ass. A pathetic way to die. Looking at the filly and the zombie pony, I smiled grimly. There's one left. I'll be right back. I turned and continued up the stairs toward the upper balcony and the sniper pony. I turned around and continued up the stairs towards the upper balcony and the sniper pony. Before, better equipped and a lot more confident, my heart still flickering with righteous fire, I made my way carefully out of Ponyville. Up ahead, I spotted a huge gazebo surrounding a marble statue of rearing ponies is geared with combat bardings and a sword in his mouth. The gazebo was relatively free of graffiti. Peeking through the binoculars, I could see why. A field of weeds around it were teeming with ratigators. My EFS was filling with red marks as I drew closer. Slipping out my newly acquired sniper rifle, I picked off a few. Their meat I knew now was safe when cooked, at least relative to other food sources in the Equestrian wasteland. Slipping the sniper rifle back into the harness, another gift from the sniper pony, I slid out the serrated knife and crouched up towards my kill. An alerted flash on my pit buck. Checking it, I discovered a labeled gazebo in front. The Macintosh War Memorial. Sweet Big Mac. Curiosity pulled me closer, careful of ratigators. I neared enough to read the inscription beneath the statue with my binoculars. In honor of Big Macintosh, hero of the Battle of Shattered Hoof Ridge, and his noble sacrifice for all of Equestria. As I lowered my binoculars, I caught sight of something else. A concrete circle was sticking up from the ground, roughly halfway between myself and the gazebo, with a pony hole cover. Remembering the night before, I used my pit buck active first radio broadcast on the list. From those damned apple trees up near the stable. Now he's terribly sick, too sick to move. We hold up a sister near the old memorial. We're running out of food and medical supplies. Please help if anyone here. If any pony hears us, please help us. Message repeats. Pulling out the revolver, or wary of ratigators, I crept towards the cistern opening. I was almost there before one of the beasts charged at me. Its huge maw opened wide, revealed a rows of razor-sharp teeth. I fired twice into its mouth, horrifying that it was enough to kill it. Horrified that it was enough to kill it, but it did make the beast think twice. The sound, however, brought more down on me. Abandoning the revolver in fright, I used my magic to pull open the pony hole and dive in, sliding the cover behind me. In the wake of anger, I was exhausted. The aftermath of the library battle, my whole body ached from exertion. My nerves felt frayed from the constant adrenaline. Eating a blood sprite skewer, I looked over the small underground chamber once more before curling up under the bunk of a pair of bunk beds built into the wall. I tried not to think of the cold skeleton on the bed below me. The skeleton of his father was by the door. I slipped from my canteen, took the edge off my thirst. His own was empty. I had to conserve. I reflected how when I had come back downstairs after dealing with the sniper pony, the zombie pony was already gone, and I had taken the poor filly with her. I'd hoped it was someplace safe. I found it was strange that the most decent pony I'd found in the wasteland was already sort of dead. I also noticed that the assault rifle pony was gone. He had woken up and freed himself from the crushing bookshelf. That meant that there was at least one more raider still in the waste. But I wasn't the sort of pony to kill. I wasn't sure to kill somebody when they were asleep, not even a raider. I figured that if I slept here tonight, it would give the ratigators time to wander away from the exit. If I was lucky, I wouldn't even spot where I would even spot where I dropped the revolver. Until then, I would preoccupy myself with these two new books. Slipping them out of my saddlebags, I looked the first one over. The one with the lost revolver on the cover. Guns and bullets. Very straightforward. And set it aside for now. The second book, like a gray tome with a black pony skull with the cover, was the real prize. Opening it, I began to read. The Wasteland Survival Guide by Ditsy Doo. Yay, Ditsy Doo. Footnote, level up. New perk, bookworm. You pay much closer attention to small details when reading. You get 50% more skill points when reading books. Anyway, that's all for this week. Thank you for listening in, and